Under no circumstances are you clicking away from this video. I have never in my life heard of an NBA team telling a player who has not committed a crime, that they are not coming back under any circumstances. That is hilarious. That is what the Memphis Grizzlies told Dillon Brooks. I mean, I feel I can relate. When I was younger, I worked at Dick's Sporting Goods. I was working Black Friday. The little coupons we had for Black Friday were so stupid. Like in the very, very fine print, it said the coupon was not eligible for any Nike, Adidas, Under Armour products. Obviously, that's all anybody wanted to buy. I was 17 years old. I was getting screamed at the entire day. So I decided, you know what? I'm just going to insert the coupon code anyway. You guys get the fuck out of my face. Stop yelling at me, please. I'm just trying to go smoke a joint after I get off here. I don't care about this job at all. And then once the manager found out, I got fired, and he told me under no circumstances are you allowed back into Dick's Sporting Goods. Joke's on him. I love Dick's. I go all the time. There's one right by my apartment. I go there for all of my sporting goods needs. I honestly thought I was done with the Grizzlies talking points, but I'm just going to touch on this a little bit here because I expected Dillon Brooks to be gone. I did not expect the Grizzlies just to be like, hell no, you're not coming back at all. Like, we're not even interested. I thought that maybe there was a small chance he could maybe come back, but obviously that's no longer the case. Let's talk about it because obviously the jokes are with Dillon Brooks, ni hao, welcome to China, all of that stuff, konnichiwa, the Draymond Green video, which is always cracks me up. I don't know why this stuff's so funny to me. It really shouldn't be. Like, I think we're really kind of teetering on crossing a problematic threshold here with some of these jokes, but I can't help but laugh at most of them. But anyways, no, I don't think Dillon Brooks is going to China. In fact, I think that there are a lot of contenders across the NBA who could desperately use a guy like Dillon Brooks in theory. Like, I'm going to be real with you. The Dallas Mavericks, I gave it some thought. It would kind of make some sense. He's a great defender. A fantastic point of attack defender. One of these rare guys. He's going to guard the other team's best player, no matter who that team's best player is. 100 percentile defensive difficulty. 95th percentile defensive versatility. Like, I love players like that. I always respect players like that. And if you use basketball indexes, perimeter defense grades, on-ball perimeter defense grade, off-ball chaser perimeter defense grade, ball screen defense grade. These are all the three stats they use to try and determine, who's a great perimeter defender. And obviously, defensive stats are incredibly unreliable, right? But if you pair them with your eye test, they can tell you some things. He's one of only 5 guys who are in the 90th percentile or better in all 3 of those categories. And we're talking about guys like Jaden McDaniels and Drew Holiday who are in that grouping. So legit top of the line defenders. Dillon Brooks legitimately is a great defender. And I think there are a lot of teams, again, including the Dallas Mavericks, who could really use a guy like that. The only problem is, his attitude and stuff, his antics, I think a little bit, I think some of it's overblown. Like, yes, he needs to reel it in a little bit in that regard. But for me, the destructive part of his game, and the reason why I think some teams will be very hesitant to bring him in, is offensively, it's brutal, man. Among players who had under 50% true shooting percentage, which is garbage, by the way, like under 50% true shooting, your ass should not be shooting that much. He had the second highest usage rate among those guys, only trailing John Wall, who is now out of the NBA entirely. So that's my big issue with Dillon Brooks. And it'd be one thing if Dillon Brooks was like, yeah, you know what, I need to figure out my role a little bit more and just focus on defense, let everything else happen. He said 2 days ago that he wanted a bigger role. He wanted a bigger role offensively. He didn't want to just be a shooter and a defender. He wants a bigger role. He has a bigger bag than that, which is just like, what? Unbelievable. That's why I wouldn't be that excited at the prospect of bringing in a guy like this, even though his defense is legitimately great. God, what a character. I'm interested to see what his market is. Like, are we talking, is some team out there going to throw him a multi-year deal? He turned down an extension earlier in the season. Let's not forget that. Is he a mid-level guy? Is he a taxpayer mid-level guy? I'm interested to see how this all plays out. Again, a team like the Mavericks makes so much sense on paper. You bring this guy in to be your wing defender, to be your point of attack defender, to be your main guy defensively. You tell him, hey, listen, we have Luka Doncic. We, knock on wood, hopefully have Kyrie Irving. Like, we don't need you to be doing a bunch of shit offensively, and hopefully he buys in, but it doesn't sound like that's going to be the case. Let's talk about some of these games that happened last night. Oh, my God. The Celtics lose to James Harden and the Philadelphia 76ers. No Joel Embiid. James Harden puts together probably his best playoff performance of his career, ties his career high for points in a playoff game. He was electric. That 3 at the end of the game was amazing. This was a really, really great game and a really fun game. And the Sixers, they rose to the occasion. Like, we got to give them a ton of props. Doc Rivers, who I shit on relentlessly on this channel, got to give him a ton of props. I mean, he coached circles around Joe Mazzulla. Like literally just coached him into the ground. I've never seen a coaching masterclass quite like that from Doc Rivers. B-ball Paul Reed, 4 huge free throws in the final minute of the game. The net barely even moved on all 4 of them. I couldn't believe that. Tyrese Maxey had that steal. Terrible play by Brogdon. But man, the Celtics, I still think they'll win this series. A big reason for that is I don't even know if from what it sounds like, I don't even know if Joel Embiid is going to play a game in this series. And if he does play, it does not sound like he's going to be anywhere remotely close to 100%. So I think the Celtics will still win. You know, James Harden had to have the best postseason performance of his career. They had to shoot lights out from 3 to barely win this game, right? So if you're the Celtics, you can kind of look at it like that. But damn, they've been so underwhelming, dude. This team has just been so painfully underwhelming. Look at how this has all played out for the Boston Celtics. They were basically gifted a free repeat trip to the NBA Finals, right? The Heat somehow lose to the Hawks in the play-in game, so the Celtics don't have to take on the Heat in round 1. They avoid that. They dodge that bullet, right? Then round 2 comes. You're going against the 76ers. Oh, my God. It sounds like Joel Embiid's going to miss the entire series, right? Seems like you should easily take care of business there. And then, oh, my God, on the other end of the bracket, the Milwaukee Bucks have lost. So we don't even have to go up against the number 1 team in all of basketball in the conference finals. Like, this is all played out perfectly for you, and you look like garbage. Like, at no point so far in this postseason have the Celtics looked good. Have they looked convincing? Have they looked like, yeah, this team's just going to run these? Like, if you would have told me before the playoff starts, hey, the Bucks are going to lose in round 1, I would have said, oh, like, why even play the Eastern Conference side of the bracket? Like, let's just have the Celtics get to the finals and just get it over with. And that still might be the case, but Jesus Christ, they have not looked convincing at all. They have the worst defensive rating out of any team left in the playoffs, which is shocking because, like, last year, that was their calling card. They were so amazing on defense. This year, it's just they're getting torched. They're getting torched by the Hawks and the Sixers without Joel Embiid. This is alarming. This is very alarming. Like, I have no clue who's going to win the finals. And like, I watch the Nuggets, and I'm just like, are we making this more difficult than it needs to be? Like, the Nuggets were the 1 seed in the West all year long. They were the most and probably like the only really consistent team in the West all year long. And it just feels like nobody really has given them any props or has really given them the time of day. And now here they are against the Suns. They're up 2-0 with a real legitimate chance to end this series quickly. I tweeted this out earlier, but the Suns are incredibly lucky. There's 3 full days of rest in between game 2 and game 3. That's pretty unheard of, right? Game 2 was on a Monday. Game 3 is on a Friday night. Like, that is a lot of rest that you don't see a lot of in the postseason. And if it weren't for that, I'd be ready to call this series right now. Like, if this were a traditional series and the Suns and Nuggets ran it back again on Wednesday, only 1 full day of rest, I would call the series right now. It's over. It's a sweep. It's done. But with those 2 full days of rest, you know, maybe the Suns can regroup. Chris Paul has a groin injury. I don't know how serious it is, so maybe he can, you know, rest up a little bit and get that healed up before game 3. But also, we talked about this again, Devin Booker has 300 minutes already this postseason. Kevin Durant has 300 minutes already this postseason in 7 games. 20 full minutes more than anybody else. 20 full minutes more than the third most played player so far, which is Jason Tatum. And like 40 more than Steph Curry, who is 4th. So, my God, they're getting ran into the ground. And it's obvious when you watch this team play. The 4th quarter, they're terrible. I think their net rating is like minus 14 in the 4th quarter, which, again, is the lowest amongst any team left in the playoffs. They're getting killed in the 4th quarter. You want to know, really, what it reminds me of? And Devin Booker's numbers drop off of he's been tremendous this postseason, but those numbers drop off of a cliff in the 4th quarter. It reminds me a lot of the Luka Mavericks days in the postseason, where like so much is being asked of him in the first 3 quarters that once the 4th quarter comes, his production just naturally drops because he's just so fucking exhausted. And that's what it feels like when I'm watching the Suns. Like, they like that 4th quarter last night was terrible, man. They had 16 points, I think, 14 points when it like really mattered because they had a garbage time Devin Booker layup. And this bench, dude, they're getting 14 points a game from their bench this postseason. That's like 6 fewer than any team's left in the playoffs. 6 points is a lot of points. That is a lot of points in the playoffs. That's enough to swing games majorly. Yeah, this is just going to be a lesson. These red flags, like when teams show their red flags and they're obvious heading into the playoffs, it's time to just look at them. It was clear that this Suns team had big problems, and now they're all out for the world to see. And I'm still, you know, I picked the Nuggets to win the series. I feel pretty confident they're going to win it now. But the Suns should know better than anybody. You know, you drop the first 2 games, you could still win the series. Where obviously that happened to them last year against the Dallas Mavericks. But the Mavericks were down 2-0 in that series, and they got shitted on the first 2 games. Like, it felt like that series was over and done with, but they still managed to go 4-1 over the next 5 games. So I don't know. It's possible. I would say it's unlikely. Kevin Durant's obviously probably not going to play anywhere near as bad as he did last night, but also Jamal Murray was terrible. Michael Porter Jr. was nowhere to be found. Like, Jokic went to God mode, and I love it. I love this. I love it. I love it. Jokic, I think that was the second most shots he's had in a playoff game. I love that. I do. That's been one of my weird criticisms of Jokic is it's like sometimes it feels like he doesn't shoot enough. Like, he wants to get everybody involved, but hey, sometimes your guys aren't hitting shots. Sometimes they're just not ready for the game. And you, as the best player, as one of the best offensive players the league has ever seen, need to step up and take the game over. And I feel like sometimes Jokic doesn't do that. So I love that we saw that last night. Yeah, it's not like the usual great efficiency from Jokic, but dude, your team needed a basket. Your team needed a guy to score, and Jokic stepped up to the plate. I love that performance from him. He's been tremendous in this series. I really think we are in the midst of the Jokic playoff moment, like the year that everyone's going to talk about when it comes to Jokic in the postseason moving forward. Are we just going to feel stupid if the NBA Finals come around and it's the Nuggets? And it's kind of starting to feel that way, where it's like this team, nobody really like was rocking with them all season long, despite the fact that they were the 1 seed and now the playoffs are around, and they've looked better than any other team. Like, every other team has had moments where you're like, what the fuck are they doing? And the Nuggets have just kind of taken care of business. I don't know. I'll be live tonight. Make sure you guys come by. Bye-bye.